right, we ready to go? Everybody hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
All right, we're going to dive into this. Thank you everybody for coming today. Welcome to the SaucerSwap AMA. To start, nothing in this space is going to be investment advice. Please use it for informational purposes only and consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Also, understand the risks of getting involved with DeFi and your local laws and regulations. With that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and do some introductions here. Song, I'm going to give it to you first.
Great. Thank you so much, Brandon. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for attending the December SaucerSwap Labs AMA. I'm Song, aka Pineapple, and it's honestly good to be back and doing an AMA. We've been heads down doing a lot of development, and I'm really excited to be on the stage and just wrap up 2025 with you all. So we recently brought on Kevin, our new head of growth, to spearhead the growth of SaucerSwap and increase our presence not only on Hedera but also our reach across crypto as a whole. So, Kevin, feel free to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Song. Just want to confirm that everybody can hear me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, loud and clear.
All right, cool. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? As Song mentioned, I was recently brought on as the head of growth. I've been a SaucerSwap community member since the early days, and I was quite a bit more active back then. I feel extremely fortunate to be working with such an amazing team. Two of those people are on the call here tonight, and a community that's extremely passionate about the protocol. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you all.
Well, there's no question. There's a lot of people that are passionate about everything that's going on in the Hedera ecosystem, but SaucerSwap in particular. We're going to kick this off with some questions, but I'm going to introduce myself as well. My name's Brandon Hargreaves. You might know me as the H-Bar Bull. I cover all kinds of stuff going on in the Hedera space with my show every Friday, but I came onto the SaucerSwap team to do this kind of stuff, go on interviews, kind of act as the face, do spaces, all that kind of fun stuff. And I've also taken on a little bit of a BD role as well, trying to bring on some of these new asset classes we're looking at with RWAs. And we're going to dive into some of that here in a little bit. But that's one of the things we want to get our TVL up. So I'm trying to look at new types of assets, looking at new types of tokens, all that kind of fun stuff as well. But like I said, we'll dive into that here in a little bit. That first question, Kevin, is going to go to you, and it comes from Lost in Sauce, who asks, are you planning on any marketing campaign to promote, for instance, around the app or the SaucerSwap website upgrade that we just saw this week? Why don't you go ahead and take that one?
Sure. So the answer to that is yes. Marketing is without a doubt like an ongoing focus for both our redesigned web app and our mobile apps, some of which you've probably already seen the marketing for. We evaluate like all the marketing channels based on what drives real user adoption, not necessarily just visibility and awareness, although we sometimes do focus on awareness itself. But yeah, I mean, the main goal is essentially real user adoption. And then we accomplish that in many ways that can include social and community engagement through videos, graphics, feature highlights, live discussions, which Brandon does often. We also want to try and approach it from educational content that could be tutorials, walkthroughs, and explainers. We have various social channels and we try and utilize all of those. As far as the mobile apps, we're working on like discoverability, multi-language support to expand our reach. The app, our Apple iOS app just came out on the App Store just for US, and we're working to expand that as well. And we are open to like pursuing selective collaboration when it aligns with our goals.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I will say that, we have two sets of customers. One of them being the people that are doing all the trading on SaucerSwap, and then the other one are the ones that actually have tokens on the network. And the better tokens we have, the more attention we're going to get. So that's a one way we can look at marketing as well. The next one is probably going to go to Song here, and it comes from Patrick, who asks, since the Kraken exchange was mentioned in the Sauce Mika white paper, can we assume that the team is pushing forward with getting a listing on that exchange? Song, what do you have for us on that one?
Thanks, Brandon. So this wouldn't be a SaucerSwap AMA without a question about central exchange, but yeah, actually we applied to Kraken back in October, and they requested to use the MICA paper, the MICA white paper we created with the help of the MICA Alliance. So hence you can see their name appearing in it alongside LCX, where Sauce is already listed and tradable in the EU. So as far as the Kraken listing goes, we haven't heard too much back from them recently, but we do know that the application is currently under review on their end. So once we hear anything back, we'll share it as soon as we can.
One of the things that's really good about these centralized exchange listings is there can be teams that kind of spearhead these kind of things, and if we can get one token that's listed on their HTS token or ERC20 from the Hedera ecosystem, we can push others to do it as well. And it seems like Sauce is going to be one of those trailblazers. The next one is going to come from Florian, asking what's SaucerSwap's long-term strategy for survival and development during the bear market. Does the team have support from the no longer the H Bar Foundation? I should have corrected that, but from the Hedera Foundation, just in case. Again, that one's going to go to you, Song.
Thanks, Brendan. Yes, so we do have support from the Hedera Foundation. And we made an announcement earlier this year in August. So we were awarded a grant from the foundation to support the core development on SauceSwap, such as embedded cross-chain integrations, an expanded trading toolset, including automation, advanced order types, and dollar cost averaging. And like what I'm really excited for is a perpetual futures platform. So the team and us, like we're just really excited to continue building out these features for the community.
All right. Perfect. So the next one's going to come from Sideshow, who asks, "When are you going to go multi-chain?" Song, you probably have an answer for us on this one as well.
Oh yes. So back in September, so our community voted to allocate funds for a sauce liquidity pool on Base. And for those of you who are not familiar, Base is Coinbase's Ethereum Layer 2. So after that DAO vote passed, we followed through by launching a wrapped ETH and sauce pool on Base. And by doing that, this essentially allows users to access and trade sauce directly in the Coinbase app and also on the OKX platform. So if you haven't checked it out yet, sauce is available on the Coinbase app via the DEX trading.
All right, sounds good. So the next one comes from A Shui, and I love that name, by the way. But they're wondering about the roadmap for 2026. We probably could have taken this one first and would have knocked out several of these questions. But Song, what are our priorities and goals as far as the roadmap in 2026 and beyond?
Yes, so as you all know, mobile wallets for iOS app and then Android as well. And we also just launched our new web app. So our immediate focus is on optimizing.
Is it just me, Kevin, or did we lose Song there?
Yeah, so I thought it was me, but yes, she dropped out, or
All right.
at least her voice did.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, you know what? We're gonna wrap back to that one, and I'm gonna take one here real quick. It comes from YoClick, who asks, "What's SaucerSwap's explicit long-term role if Hedera becomes a major venue for tokenized real-world assets?" This is a great question. Obviously, it's something that we're focusing on a lot. It's there's been a big shift, right? Because of the regulatory environment, we would not have been talking about this 18 months ago. But with the shift that we've seen from especially the government here in the United States, we are able to start talking about these real world assets. There's the integration that there is with Swarm, allowing us to bring certain securities over. They already give the ability to bring several stocks over, including Coinbase and Tesla, MicroStrategy, things like that. We are in talks talks with them to bring some assets over. And there's another question about this here a little bit later on. But in addition to that, we're looking at other assets as well. We want to make SaucerSwap a place where you don't have to leave and go to your brokerage firm to get exposure to the other asset classes like stocks, like precious metals. We're looking at precious metals as well, and we're even looking at things that haven't been done at all in the DeFi space. Things like early stage venture capital, things like that. Um, Not sure if those things are going to be able to come to fruition or when they're going to come to fruition, but we are working on them all the time. Um, Pretty sure gold and silver shouldn't be a problem. Stocks shouldn't be a problem. The venture capital, that's a little bit more out the risk curve as far as trying to get that stuff to come to fruition, but we certainly want to do that. We not only want to be, a leader in the DeFi space, but we want to be a competitor to the big boys out there, the major exchanges that are looking at tokenizing as well. There's no reason why we can't be a big player in that, and it's certainly one of our goals. We already have, of course, some RW. Hey, Kevin, you ready to dive into this?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, buddy. Let's go. And I'm not sure where we dropped off as far as RWAs, but I will say that we are working on getting some of those assets over here as soon as possible. I'm really excited about it. I think that we can compete with the big boys, the Nasdaq and the New York Stock Exchange and everything else. I think we can grow along with everybody else, and interoperability is going to be key. But we're going to go ahead and get back to that one question as soon as we get Song back up.
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, loud and clear. Unfortunately, Song, we rugged a little bit when you were talking about the roadmap for 2026. Can you go ahead and knock that one out again?
Oh, yes. So basically, Shui was asking uh, if we talked about the direct roadmap for 2026 for the SaucerSwap Labs, and what our priorities and goals and so on are. So our immediate focus right now is on optimizing the new web app, as you guys may have seen already, and improving the performance, responsiveness, and just overall smoothness of the interface. And so we worked on this quite a bit during internal QA, but real usage and feedback is what really tells us where the friction is. So we'll continue to iterate there. On mobile, we're also pushing new functionality, like connecting the wallet directly to the web app and support for multiple wallets. We've got a pretty long list of upgrades we want to ship on mobile, and I think people are going to be really excited about what's coming. So going to 2026, two big priorities that will start to take the spotlight. One is limit orders and SaucerSwap version 3. So we've already started development on limit orders and early investigation and some preliminary work toward the end of this year on SaucerSwap version 3. And once a few pieces are finalized, we'll be able to share a lot more in detail publicly. So we're really excited for 2026.
All right, I'm excited as well. I know we're going to try to get perps as well in 2026, and that has me excited. So the next one's going to go to Kevin here, and it comes from YoClick. We actually have a lot of questions from YoClick, and he asks, "What concrete metrics define success over the next 2 to 3 years?"
Yeah, so we don't share specific numbers or targets, but essentially how we think about success. I mean, as we mentioned previously in one of the responses, or I did, like we want real user adoption. So user growth, app downloads, swap volume, TVL, liquidity depth, revenue is obviously a big one, retention. Like we don't want users just coming to the website and just using it once, right? We want like continuous actions from our users. So all those metrics we're paying attention to. We track them internally, and as we focus on building something sustainable, we're aiming for growth that's healthy and resilient over the long term.
So, Kevin, I got another one for you. What's the biggest risk to SaucerSwap's business over the next, 5 years or so? Is it technical, governance, regulatory, competitive? What are we looking at as far as our risks here?
Yeah, so I think a big one, and a lot of people are probably aware of this, is absolutely technical risk. like in DeFi in general, everything ultimately depends on the protocol working exactly as intended continuously and being able to safely evolve over time, just while maintaining that security and reliability. And governance, regulatory, competitive risks, all of those things exist and will continue to exist, um, but they must be managed thoughtfully and effectively. But I would say
Sure.
technical risk.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thus far, I mean, Saucer Swap's been operating for a few years and have been able to manage those technical risks fairly well. Fingers crossed, we'll knock on wood that we don't have any more problems, or we don't have any problems going into the future. But we have another one from YoClick who asks, if markets stay unfavorable for multiple years, what keeps Saucer Swap sustainable? Where does runway and resilience come from?
Yeah, so SaucerSwap is built to last through market cycles. Sustainability comes down to keeping costs disciplined, earning protocol and interface fees, staying focused on the infrastructure of the protocol that matters long term instead of chasing short term trends. When the markets are slow, we use that time to tighten up the product, iterate on what users actually need, and make sure that SaucerSwap is positioned well for when activity does pick up. And that's how SaucerSwap will stay operational regardless of what's happening in the broader market.
Sure, makes perfect sense. All right, so this next one, we're going to get back into tokenized and regulated assets. Again, it comes from YoClick, who asks, if tokenized or regulated assets launch on Hedera, what technical or governance changes would SaucerSwap need, and would you support permissioned pools? Kevin, I'll let you start off with that one. I might have something to add here in a second as well.
Sure. So we do support tokenized assets like Carrot already on SaucerSwap. Just generally, if and when regulated assets launch on Hedera, supporting them would likely involve just adding like the right and necessary layers and controls, like permission pools, asset level restrictions, any interface controls, rather than changing the core protocol itself. And then any such support would be evaluated just carefully based on real demand, ecosystem readiness, and long-term protocol alignment, while preserving the strong like permissionless core that we have.
Sure, I got you. And carrot, when it comes to commodities like carrot, like gold and silver, that's really low hanging fruit. There's not as many hurdles when it comes to regulation with those kind of assets. When we start to move into securities, so stocks that are trading on public markets, things get a little bit more interesting. Swarm, it looks like, has developed a system under EU regulation to make these assets DeFi ready. So we should be able to bring those over as well without too many problems. Honestly, it does depend on what the market structure bill, the Genius Act that people talk an awful lot about, what that comes out with. And we're going to have to look at that. Once we get that final framework, we are going to have to, when we try to bring over new types of assets, we can work with teams like Swarm, like Zonix, and then talk to our own legal teams to make sure that we can move forward effectively. When things get a little bit more exotic, we'll talk about something like those venture capital assets, like early stage venture kind of stuff. It might only be possible to do that for, we'll say, accredited investors. Hopefully, we can expand that out over time. But then we could look at things like KYC tags on specific accounts, things like that. So it's certainly something that we want to kind of push the envelope with without getting on the wrong side of regulation. But it seems like the regulators at this point are open to allowing a bit of a safe harbor and people to try new things. And that's what we want to make sure that we can push and make sure that we are bringing as many assets as over as possible without, again, getting on the wrong side of the regulation there. But yeah, we'll leave it on that. The next one, we got another question here about when will we be able to get these stocks on SaucerSwap. We're working actively right now with Swarm and the Hedera Foundation to bring some of these things over. We've been talking with them for about 2 months at this point. We don't have a definitive timeline as to when we might get those in the ecosystem, but I would hope that it would be in 2026. Time will tell, though. We're going to move as fast as we can. We can certainly say that. All right, we're gonna move on down to the next one. My gosh, YoClick was definitely busy here. The next the next one he has is 5 years from now, what outcome would clearly indicate SaucerSwap succeeded? What would you what would failure look like in contrast? What's your take on that, Kevin?
So yeah, I mean, you hit on it. YoClick's questions have been carrying this AMA in the beginning, at least. To answer the question, success would look like becoming the liquidity standard for the Hedera network, with the TVL scaling into the hundreds of millions and then billions. And then by then, we will have been able to move beyond a single DEX to a full-time brokerage stack, which incorporates V3, V4, perpetuals, and potentially integrating lending markets. And then crucially, will be a self-sustaining protocol where profitability is driven by real revenue rather than the token emissions. And we want to be the primary engine where the massive volume from Hedera's enterprise partners like Shinhan Bank and ServiceNow actually settles on chain. And failure was the other half of that question. So failure looks like unrealized potential. It would mean we built incredible technology but failed to bridge the gap between institutional utility and retail accessibility. And then if 5 years ago, buying, let's see, yeah, so in 5 years, if we haven't translated that enterprise utility into deep, accessible liquidity for the broader market, then uh, we haven't fulfilled our vision.
We've obviously been pretty successful with bringing those native assets, the Web3 assets to retail within the Hedera ecosystem. And now it's just getting to that next stage, bringing some of these other assets online and scaling. And if we shoot for the stars and we land on the moon, that would be okay as well. But, we certainly want to keep our goals high. The next one, we're going to give you a little bit of a break here, Kevin. We're going to go back to Song. The question is, why is the SaucerSwap app still in test flight and not in the main Apple Store, in the App Store? This is a question for pretty much anybody who develops an app and has some issues with the App Store and the approvals and all that kind of stuff. But Song, I'll go ahead and let you take that one.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So the iOS app was just approved by Apple this Thursday, actually, for release in the App Store for US customers. So, I mean, right now it's currently live. We just posted a Twitter announcement about that. So, if you already have the test flight app, it might re-download the app again, and you'll be asked to re-import your wallet or make a new one. So guys, just ensure you've backed up your seed phrase from the test flight app. Write it somewhere and store it secretly. So the app right now is just available to users in the United States. But we are working with our legal team to expand this to more markets as soon as possible. So until then, the test flight version will continue to be updated at the same pace as the App Store one. And there shouldn't be any difference between them in terms of functionality and features.
Song, I have a follow up on this one. Will it be possible to buy HBAR directly in the new SaucerSwap app, in the near future here, similar to how you can buy ETH using Uniswap?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brandon. So, not for the mobile app currently, but absolutely for the web app, meaning the website. So, we currently support buying HBAR on the web app. I mean, and we use that. We do that through the Coinbase on ramp. And so on SaucerSwap.finance, with the wallet connected, if you go to the trade page right next to the swap tab, just click on the buy button on that trade page, and it'll direct you to the Coinbase on ramp. And from there, you can just log in and then deposit the HBAR directly into your wallet. So this Coinbase on ramp feature, we're planning to add this to the mobile app as well. So first on the iOS with Apple Pay support, and then later on Android if it's possible. So Coinbase on ramp doesn't support Google Pay right now, But once it does, we'll definitely add it to the Android wallet as
All
well.
right, sounds good. This next one's going to go to Kevin, and it's: can you list on your website and app the centralized exchanges where Sauce is currently listed? CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko do not list the Asian exchanges where Sauce is listed on.
Yeah, so this is good feedback, and we can make it easier to find. So both CMC and CoinGecko both display most pairs and listings, but having this information accessible on our website and in our docs would absolutely be helpful. And as far as the Asian exchanges, we're currently listed on Coins.ph, and we will be able to update our website and our documentation to reflect the centralized exchange listings that we have. So appreciate that question and for bringing it to our attention.
All right, so I have another one here, and we have so many great DeFi projects here in the Hedera ecosystem. Kevin, do you look at what other DEX projects are doing on the Hedera network?
Yeah, so I mean, I personally do, and then as a protocol, we definitely pay attention to what's happening across Hedera, and then just the broader DeFi ecosystem as a whole. We look at what other dexes are building, again, whether that's on Hedera or even again just across the broader DeFi ecosystem, how users respond to it, what features gain traction, and where any gaps might exist. It's definitely useful context for understanding what works, what doesn't, and where any opportunities lie. And as far as Hedera, a healthy ecosystem benefits everyone building here. We're absolutely supportive of other teams. And with that being said, our particular roadmap is driven by our own strategy and what makes sense for SaucerSwap specifically, not just matching features because they might exist somewhere else.
All right, so we have another question here. How many people have signed up for the new SaucerSwap wallet? And obviously, they're talking about the app here. Kevin, we're going to throw that one to you as well.
Yeah, so this is another one where we don't publicly publish those sign up numbers or those numbers in general, but we are very happy with the early turnout and engagement that we've gotten, which has been strong. Our focus as of late has been on the App Store approval. And as Song mentioned, we just got the approval for US customers and moving the Android app through beta to the production release.
All right, I like this next one, Kevin. It says, can we get a Sauce debit or credit card? What do you got for us on that?
Yeah, so it might be nice, but a sauce debit or credit card is not something that we're currently planning. Our focus is on the core protocol itself and the existing milestones of our roadmap, many of which was already listed earlier in this call. As far as a product like this, payment products involve strenuous and high regulatory and compliance complexity that's currently just outside of our current focus.
All right, that's fair. So the next one's going to go to Song, and it says, is SaucerSwap Labs profitable?
Thanks, Brandon. So like most DeFi software companies, so SaucerSwap Labs isn't profitable today. So that said, if we stay on our current growth trajectory, we expect to be in a position to fully offset operating expenses in 2026. So even then, we don't view profitability as our end goal. We view growth as our end goal. And as revenue increases, we plan to reinvest aggressively in hiring more engineers, doubling down on marketing, and just allocating capital towards different initiatives and ecosystem work that will move the protocol forward.
This makes perfect sense. And, we know this about software companies. Something even like retailers like Amazon, they were not profitable, and that's in quotes, in the mid-teens. But at any time they could flip the switch, and if they wanted to, they could become profitable. But it is key to make sure that you continue to grow during that time. So it makes perfect sense to me. So the next one, again, this one's going to go to Kevin. Why not allocate funds to pay larger crypto influencers with substantial YouTube followings to promote sauce?
Yeah, so we're extremely intentional about how we allocate and spend our resources. So large paid influencer campaigns don't necessarily always translate into long-term users or retained users. So we want to prioritize efforts that drive sustained adoption, product usage, and ecosystem growth, which was also mentioned as far as like the metrics that we try and keep track of, right? So those things are far more important. Um, and then with that said, we do absolutely stay open to partnerships that align with the protocol and the community. So
Yeah.
we haven't closed the door, but yeah, it has to make sense.
All right. Now, I do want to go back to some of these base integrations here. It says, have sauces listings on OKX and Coinbase via base been a success?
Yeah, so as many of you probably already know, Sauce became available on Base and OKX, or Coinbase and OKX, through the bridging of Sauce from Hedera to Base, which enabled, so each of those platforms has DEX trading enabled, which is why Sauce was available, um, rather than it being a traditional centralized exchange listing. And so, just as a protocol, we view success as expanding access, improving liquidity options, supporting broad ecosystem participation rather than focusing on any short term metrics. And then, with that being said, like we're absolutely encouraged by how the cross chain availability has increased reach while keeping our focus on continuing to build the core protocol.
While we're talking about success here, Song, would you consider 2025 having been a success for SaucerSwap?
Thanks for the question, Brandon. So we all feel the pain of the market being what it's been this past year. But honestly, 2025 has been a pretty strong year for SaucerSwap. So number one, we secured support from the Hedera Foundation. And then we expanded access to Sauce through new centralized exchange listings on Coins.ph and LCX. And then we made our first step in cross chain by what we mentioned before, launching a base liquidity pool, wrapped ETH and Sauce. And that helped make Sauce tradable through the Coinbase app and OKX, as what Kevin mentioned earlier. Along with that, we shipped ERC20 support, and then we integrated Axlar via Squid bridging, so that users can have a smoother experience with cross-chain routing. On the product side, we launched both the iOS and Android wallets. This essentially allowed users to easily trade and stake sauce on the go. And then recently, we just rolled out a new web app, completely rebuilt and redesigned, with new features like an explore page where you can easily search tokens and buy tokens using mini buys. And then with across the board with the mobile apps and the new web app, we also delivered major data upgrades like real-time pricing, and you also get improved in-app analytics. So with all that being said, overall, I think 2025 was a really solid year for SaucerSwap, and I'm excited and I look forward to 2026. To where we'll continue to keep rolling out features.
All right, looking forward to it. So now we're going to talk about this AMA in particular. The next question is it possible to upload these AMAs to the Sauce YouTube channel more frequently rather than waiting weeks or months between uploads? Song, you have an answer for that one too.
Yes, I do. So typically, the audio recordings are uploaded to our Discord within 24 hours or less. However, with video editing, it's more involved, and this year we've been heavily focused on development, so uploading the videos took longer than it should have. but we understand the pain point. So moving forward, we'll come up with a more streamlined process on getting these AMAs out more frequently on YouTube.
Well, hopefully, I might be able to help you out with that a little bit as well. So, Kevin and I can take a look at this and maybe we can get something knocked out a little bit more quickly. Now, we're going to shift gears here real quick. We're going to transition into the Dog Star Awards song. Can you tell us about these awards and what's going on with them?
Yes, thanks, Brandon. So SaucerSwap AMA won't be a SaucerSwap AMA if we didn't have Dogstar Awards. So uh, if you're new here, the Dogstar Award is our way of recognizing an outstanding member in the SaucerSwap community who's really stepped up, whether that's posting about SaucerSwap, backing the Hedera ecosystem, or just helping keep people safe from scammers. So for this AMA, we'd like to recognize Darwin Kernel. Thank you, Darwin Kernel, for keeping the community safe by diligently reporting scammers. So he's reported over 200 scammers since August,
Whoa.
and we appreciate. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like every week, he'll post up these scammers that he find on our Discord, and so we're able to ban them. So we appreciate what he's doing. So if you want to claim your prize, Darwin Kernel, just please create a support ticket in our Discord, and we'll take care of you. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and close this out pretty quick, but we are going to say one more thing. I just want to thank SaucerSwap for providing such a great platform for all the Hedera token issuers out there. It's been a great experience from the very beginning. I remember when it first launched, I was actually on vacation and I wasn't around able to play around with it until a week or so after. But since then, it's just been a great experience, and I'm looking forward to the new tokens that we're going to be getting on board in 2026, especially some of the DPIN tokens. I'm looking forward to the 4D Sky token that we're going to be getting from Neuron, as well as the Quake token that's going to be coming online here pretty soon from CLSQ. So that's transactional Internet of Things, AI, all that kind of fun stuff. But I also want to give Kevin and Song an opportunity to say anything else they want to cover before we get out of here. Kevin, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure. Yeah. So this was the first AMA in the books. Absolutely appreciate the team. Thanks for everyone that is in attendance. Thanks for everyone that rejoined. There's definitely some familiar names in on this call right now. Yeah. So appreciate all the questions. Thanks everyone for joining. Absolutely excited for what we're building in 2026. Happy holidays. Hope to see you all at the next AMA.
All right, sounds good. Song, do you have anything else before we jump off here?
Yeah, I just want to say, a quick thank you all for joining us for our last AMA of 2025. We could not have made it this far without the community support. The questions tonight were thoughtful and genuinely like really good. And we really appreciate everyone who attended and who's shown up and given SaucerSwap support despite all the market conditions. We've got a lot in the pipeline heading into 2026 with new features, new product work, and a lot more to ship. So we're super excited to share what's next as it comes together. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and we'll see you in the next AMA next year.
All right. Well, it's been a blast here today. Hopefully, next time we can make it a little bit more interactive, get some people up here to ask some questions one on one. But like you said, there were some great questions this time around. It's been a really successful 2025 for Hedera DeFi, and I'm looking forward to an exciting 2026. That's all we got. Thank you guys for tuning in. And for anybody that asked questions, we appreciate that as well.